Broadcast Hall of Fame member and one of the most recognizable faces in sports television in the Ozarks. That should help him a lot on the radio.
I'm here!
Back where he belongs, hosting the Sports Reporters. Ned Reynolds on your total sports station. 96.9, 99.9, and AM 1060 ESPN. The Jock.
And with that, we bid you good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Sports Reporters. Great to have you with us on an absolutely beautiful November 3rd, 2020 in the Ozarks. Election Day. Is it beautiful? The sun's out, the sky is blue. I'm Ned Reynolds, joined today by
Dwight Glenn with the Ozark Mountain Daredevils.
And by
Guy Newcomb, the Scoreboard.
We do have a special guest. Mr. Glenn, if you will do the honors for us.
I would be glad to do that. We are bringing on the air right now a gentleman that has been hermetically sealed in his humble abode in Christian County since March of this year to protect himself and have an abundance of caution, with this COVID episode. But in all seriousness, we'd like to bring on the air right now from the Ozark Mountain Daredevils, Mr. John Dillion. Good morning, John.
Hey, good morning, boys. The sun is indeed shining in Ozark. It's beautiful. How are you guys?
One of the reasons we wanted to have you on the air is I was able to share this microphone with Ned last Tuesday, and I came in the studio, and he greeted me, as he always does, with the KY1, and asked why I had not brought him a bottle of the Ozark Mountain Daredevils Ozark Dry Gin that he had been reading about in the paper the previous day.
Yeah.
So
right.
we wanted to have you on the air because I think people will love to hear the story of how and why the Ozark Mountain Daredevils decided to create an Ozark Dry Gin and what the origins were of that.
Well, it's so interesting. A number of years ago, maybe 5 years ago, a guy just sort of showed up named Scott Schatz. And yes, his last name is Schatz. And he said, I want to propose something to the band. How about you guys lend your brand, your trademark, your history, to an alcoholic spirit of some sort. And he suggested, and he had no affiliation. He understood distilling to some degree, but he had no affiliation with a company, I don't believe, at that time. Just sort of had an idea that he wanted to plant the seed for. And so I said, well, what do you have in mind? He said, well, we'll just do a moonshine because this is the Ozarks and moonshine. They kind of go together, and you guys, it'll shine when it shines and all of that. So I said, well, how do you make moonshine? He goes, well, you can just take a grain of alcohol and put it in a bottle and put a label on it and, hey, make money. It didn't seem very appealing to me, and the moonshine I'd had actually illegally in Arkansas when we lived down there was just absolutely the worst stuff I've ever tasted. But it was good for keeping the kerosene lamps lit during the cold winter nights. So I just didn't see much opportunity there. And but Mr. Schatz did understand how to distill a bourbon, and also at that time there were no celebrities really lending their brand to alcoholic spirits, with maybe the exception of George Clooney and Casamigos tequila, which had just started. I just sort of discovered that. So we just didn't know what to do, and I wasn't interested much in a bourbon. I wanted to do something I liked. So I love single malts, like a really good scotch, but I don't understand. Bourbon is a little sweet for me, although there are great American bourbons out there now that are taking over the world, and I've learned since then to appreciate them. But the other thing that I liked, and was sort of a go-to drink for me, was gin. And so over the years, as we began to progress, and then Scott, I believe, landed a position at Springfield Brewing Company, which makes beer. So all of a sudden we had a platform where we maybe could actually make something. And so I suggested we do a gin because I liked it. And plus, there was a backstory involved because we had discovered gin on our very first journey to London in 1972 or 3. to work with the famous Glenn Johns to do our first album. We had discovered in an English pub the joy of English gin, a London dry gin. And so I thought, well, gosh, let's make a gin. Nobody's doing that. Gin, nobody does that. And so we decided we would. Well, little did we know that it has to be the most difficult thing in the world to distill. And nobody knew what to do. And so that started the process of actually trying to figure out how to make it. There was a huge amount of research. It still had to be built that would accommodate what we wanted to do. And then, of course, once we started turning out batches, which took months and months and months to figure out, then we had to start tasting to actually develop a flavor profile because the flavor of any given gin is so different from any other gin. It's all so personal because you're dealing with botanicals, which can be, you can have hundreds to choose from. How do you pick the ones that really make sense? And also, I really wanted to have something local, botanically local from this region, the Ozarks, in this gin. And that took some more research to find out how to source that. And so, little by little, we began tasting, and it took months. Well, it was a lot of fun. Don't get me wrong. We had a great time. But, man, was it hard to – the first batch we poured down the sink. And each batch would take 2 weeks to make. So it was really, really a difficult process. Gin is a deep, very complex alcoholic spirit. And because of that, if you can get a good one, you have something very, very special that nobody else can imitate. And we believe that we have achieved that. I truly say now, without any hesitation, that the gin that we have figured out how to make over the course of 2 or 3 years is the best gin in the solar system.
That's very well done, John. Very well done. We greatly appreciate your taking time to visit with us this morning and fill us in on how popular the Daredevil's Ozark Dry Gin is going to be. John, many, many thanks, and please, stop in and visit with us in the studio sometime. Love to have you up here.
Would love to do that, Ned. Thanks so much for having me. All the best to you guys.
Thank you, John.
Sir. Always a pleasure to welcome the Colonel into the Jock Studio, Colonel Dan Murphy, who is the official's official, but he's also an officer. He's also you're full bird colonel, aren't you?
No, Lieutenant Colonel.
You're a light colonel. Well, then I don't feel so bad about not saluting you then.
Okay. Hey, wait a minute now.
Colonel
okay,
Dan.
Swabby.
Well, you got me there. Oh gosh. It's been, I took a look at the calendar the other day, and when I was discharged from active duty, and that was quote unquote active duty because Vietnam was going on, but it was it's over 50 years ago.
I graduated. We had our 50th class reunion virtually.
Well, you had to have it virtually.
Yeah, we had it virtually on homecoming weekend.
Now, is this is this the reunion from Westchester?
Yes, from Chester, Pennsylvania Military College.
Yeah, PMC. That's Westchester. That's not Chester.
No, that's Chester. That's Chester. Westchester is another 15 miles.
Is there that much of a difference?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, for heaven's sake. Well, Colonel Dan is, of course, one of the top baseball umpires in prep sports. Not only prep, you can do other as well. But this is a special reason you have coming by. First of all, umpires and officials in every sport are desperately needed.
Oh yes, we are going into recruiting. We have really 2 times a year to recruit. We recruit football officials baseball officials in the fall, right at the end of football season, and we until we get them ready for the spring, and then in baseball season in the spring, we recruit football officials to get them, and I play a part in both right now. I'm the Mid-American Umpires Association recruiting coordinator. I also was Southwest Missouri Football Officials recruiting coordinator. So I wear 2 hats, but I'm in the fall mode now of recruiting baseball umpires. We're trying to get good quality baseball umpires because the need is phenomenal. Not only do we do high school sports, we do youth sports. The CY organization down just north of Nixa here at the Rivers.
Yes.
Barnhouse. We provide umpires. We provide umpires at USA Ballpark for the youth games and stuff. So we provide a lot of youth sports besides high school, junior high, freshman, JV, and varsity sports. So the need for umpires is phenomenal.
Dan, during the course of a summer, you would feel comfortable as the director having a staff of how many umpires available?
We need about 140.
What do you
umpires.
have now?
109.
Well, along the lines of baseball, first of all, if you will, introduce the guests.
Oh, yes. We have one of our board members here with us from MAU, from Mid-American Umpires. We have one of our board members and a former coach.
Absolutely.
And a heck of a good umpire, Howard Greenwood. And Howard came to us after he retired. And I recruited him, by the way, as an umpire and trained him as an umpire. And he says, "You got to be kidding me."
Now, Coach, all those years down at Nixa, coaching the Nixa Eagles and so forth, what has been, and again, this is subjective on your part, the big difference between coaching a team and actually being out on the field umpiring a game?
Well, I've talked to other umpires, and umpires think that they work a lot harder than coaches, and I kept telling them no. Umpiring is a lot easier than coaching because you don't have any post-game responsibilities. When you're done with the game, you're done. As a coach, you got to worry about who got injured, whose arm is sore, who's going to play the next day. There's so many responsibilities as a coach. And that's one thing that kind of drew me to umpiring a little bit, is that it was an easy move because as a coach, I umpired anyway.
I resemble that remark.
So it was an easy move, and I've done it now for 3 years, and I really enjoy it.
And I'm glad you brought that up, too. This is not a volunteer project.
Oh, no.
There is a pay scale.
You make $140 a night with two or maybe more. The pay scale went up. $75 for a 7-inning game, $65 for a 5-inning game. That's $140 normal for varsity and JV. If you do 2 freshman games, and they're probably one's a 7 and one's a 5, or you do 2 5-inning games, that's a pretty good chunk of money.
The amount of money that you guys are paying becomes affordable.
Yeah, I know.
There's your post-game responsibility.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. You just called it. Dan Murphy and Howard Greenwood visiting with us. For Dwight Glenn and for Guy Newcomb, thanks, folks, for being with us. I'm Ned Reynolds. Have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow post-election on the Sports Reporters.